Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Good Orderly Direction, Practical Tools of the Bible. Today we're talking about Numbers 15, Living with Foreigners and Rebellion from Within. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn-Elise Snipes. For the generations to come, whenever a foreigner or anyone else living among you presents a food offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, they must do exactly as you do. The community is to have the same rules for you and for the foreigner residing among you. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You and the foreigner shall be the same before the Lord. The same laws and regulations will apply both to you and the foreigner residing among you. At this point in time, it was important to maintain unity in the community, and doing that meant maintaining a singular set of values and beliefs that guided them, and not to be tempted by witchcraft, not to be tempted by other gods, not to be tempted by other promises that may or may not come true, to really focus on good orderly direction, to really focus on doing the next right thing. Prudence, let's just take that one example. When people are in a group and there are dissenters among them who decide to rebel, who decide to protest, who decide to cause problems, or who try to convince and manipulate the original people, then it starts removing the unity in community. It doesn't mean that everybody has to have the same thoughts and feelings, but what it means is we are all in this community guided by a similar set of values: prudence, endurance, respect, forgiveness, compassion, truthfulness, and selflessness. Those are not super polarizing values that people can hold, and it's important to operationalize those things. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. They took him to Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, "The man must die. The whole assembly must stone him outside the camp." Yikes, that's kind of barbaric in today's world. From the perspective of good orderly direction, it was important for Moses to consistently uphold the laws to maintain order. And we know in families, when something is not allowed sometimes, but allowed other times, and the rules are not clear, there tends to be a lot more challenges within the family, within the community. So it was important for Moses to consistently uphold the laws. When he prayed and he thought about what had happened, Moses came to the only answer he had at the time. He prayed to God and he said, "I don't know what to do here." And the wisdom he got was, this is what needs to happen. And we don't know whether the person was actually stoned, but likely that's what happened. We also know that sometimes people can be excommunicated, and that's what we do today. If someone is obviously subverting principles that are vital to the functioning of our community, we need to protect ourselves and educate them, and if they refuse to follow those, we need to do something. That's why we have jails today. When people break certain rules, they got to go to jail. Things change. God's treatment of the people evolves as the people develop more knowledge and responsibility. Like a father who allows more freedom of choice to his teen than his toddler. And we see this happening in the Bible. By the time we get to the New Testament, we have Mark 2:23-28. On the Sabbath, Jesus and his disciples walked along and they began to pick some heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And my belief is that at this point, God had believed that the people had evolved enough to be able to make prudent decisions and to not willy-nilly, if you will, ignore the Sabbath, that they were able to recognize that they needed rest. The Sabbath was made for man. Remember, they rested on the Sabbath, not man for the Sabbath. And that is what we need to remember today. A lot of people work weird schedules in our technology-driven world. That's okay. Just because they work on Sunday or on Saturday doesn't mean that they are not people of faith, but it does mean that they need to respect the Sabbath. They need to respect that they need time off, not only to rest and recover, but also to look out and appreciate all things that were good, just like God did on the seventh day. How do your behaviors change as you learn new skills and in different contexts? In recovery, we talk a lot about refusal skills. People who are in super early recovery, probably not a good idea to go over to a buddy's house to watch a football game when you know everybody's going to be drinking beer. It's just those skills aren't strong enough yet. As you go more into recovery, a couple years under your belt, you might have the refusal skills and ability to handle some situations like that, but not all. And it's important for each individual to make that decision. Communication. As you improve your communication, you are going to be able to get along with other people differently. But you're going to communicate differently with different people. You're going to communicate differently with your toddler than your teenager, I hope. You're going to communicate differently with your boss than your significant other. As you learn new skills and in different contexts, you may start to change who you believe you can safely be around. You may feel like, hey, back when I was depressed or back when I had a lot of anger or trauma, I didn't feel safe being around this person because they're angry or because they tend to be loud and that triggers my prior traumas. But as you process those traumas and recognize your reactions as not grounded in facts in the present, but artifacts from the past, you might feel safer around other people. And your ability to maintain your boundaries when you are in early recovery, and this can be from depression, anxiety, trauma, addiction, it doesn't matter. But as you learn new skills and in different contexts, you're going to likely have different boundaries. When I'm at work, I don't share near as much as I share with my family when I'm at home. And when I'm at work, I tend to feel that it's easier to maintain my boundaries than sometimes when I'm at home. I'll admit it. Sometimes I have a hard time maintaining my boundaries, but I check myself, and that's where mindfulness comes in.